Okay everybody, this is video number 11, graphing quadratics, and we're going to start with intercept form. So as you can see in the bottom of my screen right over here, that's what we mean by intercept form. Sometimes it's also referred to as factors form. Now, to graph this intercept form, guys, we're going to start out the same way I always taught you. We're going to make a table. And what we're going to do in our table here is we're simply going to follow the gold, look right in our first parentheses there, and ask ourselves, what would make that 0? And the obvious answer is -3. So I'm going to put that in my table. The second parentheses has x minus 1. What makes that 0? +1. Put that in my table. Now I left the gap because I'm going to count from one to the other. So -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. Let me make those a little bit larger there. And notice I already have 5 points. And general good rule to follow, guys, is as long as you have at least 5 good points, you're going to get a good graph with these quadratics. So we're going to stick with just these 5 points, and that's all we need. So let's continue on here. So what I'm going to do, follow the red, is I'm going to obviously start with -3, but we already know when I plug in -3, you see, when I plug in -3, I'm going to get a 0. But just to show my work, I'll finish it off here. But the whole point is that's going to be 0, so my whole expression goes to 0. Likewise, when I plug in 1, I'm going to get 0, right? So all we need is 3 more points. So now I'm going to plug in -2. Notice how I plugged in -2 for x. And I'm going to get 2 times 1 times -3. Notice I did the parentheses first. And if I do 2 times 1, 2 times -3, that's a -6. Now what's cool about finding a nice whole number vertex, as you'll find out, is by symmetry this also is going to be -6. Okay, now so all we have left to do, now if you don't believe me, plug in 0, it's going to give you -6. Okay, so now all we need to do is -1. Plugging in -1, I'll change the green here. This is what I'm going to get. See how I plugged in -1 for x? So I'm going to simply get a 2 times 2 times -2. That's a -8. And I have a complete table. All I need to do is graph now. So -3 is 0. -2 is -6. -1 is -8. 0 is -6. And 1 is 0. So guys, here is my beautiful parabola. Okay. Note, follow the gold. That vertex right there, that's what we call the very bottom of that graph, is a vertex, is also a minimum value. That's the lowest that it goes, right? Minimum value, guys. Minimum value. So please remember that. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, continuing on, let's try one more graph. First thing I'm going to do is what? That's right, I'm going to make a table. Second thing, I'm going to look inside my function here. I notice I have a x minus 4. That means 4 makes it 0. And the other expression, notice 8 makes it 0. And I'm just going to count from 4 to 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Notice again, I have already 5 points. If I didn't, I could just add numbers on each end. Like for example, I could add a 3 and an 8, or sorry, a 9, okay? But we don't have to do that this time, guys, because we already have 5 points. Alright, let's get to the graph. Follow the gold. I'm going to first plug in 4. So negative 1/2, 4 minus 4, 4 minus 8. Wait a minute, we already got a 0 there, don't we? So we know that's 0, we know 8's 0. 3 more points to go. Now I'm going to plug in the 5. 5 minus 4, 5 minus 8. So I'm going to get negative 1/2 of 1 times negative 3. That becomes a positive 3/2, which also is 1.5. Guys, 7 also will turn out to be a positive 3/2. Okay? Okay, only thing left to do is my vertex, right? I'm going to plug in the negative 6. Negative 1/2. 6 minus 4. 6 minus 8. I'm going to get negative 1/2 of 2 times a negative 2 times together. That gives me a positive 2. So all I have to do is graph now. 4, sorry, is 0. 5 is 3/2. So I'm just going to do a 1.5 as best as I can there. 6 is a positive 2. 7 is a 3/2, which is another 1.5. A little bit high there, but hopefully you realize that's 1.5. And finally, 8, 0. So notice, guys, here is my parabola. And it's going to be a little bit wider than this one, because this one was a 2x squared, basically, whereas this one was a 1/2. And notice, see how it's pointing down, guys? It's opening down because of the negative in front of the 1/2. Remember, negative will make x squareds open down. Positives, like this one here, will open up. Okay? But that's all there is to it, guys. Notice that my vertex this time is a maximum value, by the way. Get used to minimum and maximum values. But besides that, guys, I'll see you next time.